This video is about the tax triangle. Now, this is kind of a short little concept, and it's one that pops up in the homework, so I just wanted you to be familiar with it, okay? Now, everything we did in class when it involved a tax involved shifting our supply curve, right? So that was essentially where we took this size of the tax, right? And went over here, we made a dot right here, right? We put in a dot here, and then we measured and we went down here. Whoa, I just screwed that up. Let's undo that. Oops. Okay, come on, buddy. Then we moved it down here. We put in another dot right there, and then we drew our line. We got a ruler. We drew a line for a new supply curve through like that. Okay, so that was what we did in class. And this is how we essentially did our analysis with the tax, okay? Now, you can use what's called the tax triangle, and essentially what you're doing is you're focusing on this area right here, okay? Because you know eventually you're going to get this dead weight loss triangle. So rather than draw the supply curve, what you can do is do the following. I'm going to erase all this. Okay, we're going to start over, all right? So instead of shifting the supply curve, what you can do is you can say, look, I know that there's going to be this tax triangle created, and it's going to be the vertical distance between my demand curve and supply curve, right about, it's not going to be precise, but right about here. Come on, buddy, quit jumping around. Right about there, roughly, okay? So you would take your ruler, and you would go over here, you would draw this in roughly right about here. Right? The distance between these two lines is the size of the tax, right? The size of the tax is this distance there, okay? And so then everything else is the same. Right? You draw this in here, do your usual line over there, usual line over here. Okay, this is the price that the buyer pays. This is the money or the price that the seller gets, right? You draw a line down here, right? This is the quantity sold. You can fill in consumer surplus up here. Make it pink this time, right? This is our consumer surplus. You can also do producer surplus down here. Right? Everything else in our tax analysis is the same, but instead of shifting the supply curve, you can just draw that little triangle in there whose height is the size of the tax, okay? And again, we know this area here is going to be government revenue. So we can draw it in, okay? So this is producer surplus down here. This is government tax revenue, okay? And the last little piece is the dead weight loss, which is this triangle here, okay? This is dead weight loss, okay? So you can do it with a triangle. It turns out it's exactly the same, right? The next slide, I've got everything we just did nicely drawn. The only difference is instead of shifting that supply curve, right, I've gone ahead and drawn in, I added this little triangle here whose height is the size of the tax, right? The height of this line here from here to here is the size of the tax. So this is essentially how you can do tax analysis with a tax triangle, okay? So one of the homework problems is going to have you do that. So now you know how to do it.